Hello my friends and welcome back to EVE Online with me Mark from Dadex and Red Willow Charante in the C3 wormhole with the high-sec static in our Heron on a mission to fill it with loot before we're allowed to emerge from wormhole space. We've got a few signatures to scan down, so we'll get on with that. We're up to about 300 million on the loot front. No change there from the last episode. You have seen everything that's happening on this run. I'm hoping this weekend to get on and spend a few hours just cruising, but for now let's just investigate and explore and see what we can find in this here C3 today. Nobody else around in the wormhole, certainly nobody showing up on D-scan, and no indication of anyone else around. Remember, we are at our safe spot, so somebody would have to use combat probes to find us should they want to come and say hello. I was reminiscing a couple of days ago with a very old EVE buddy and now real life buddy about 9 years ago when I had my first Tech 2 ship in EVE, which was a buzzard, specifically to come into wormholes and do some hacking, which was a very different game back then. Quite literally, there were no hacks, so you basically ran your relic and data analyzer the same way that a salvager runs now. So you could just sit there at a box with it cycling and cycling and cycling without really much of a clue. Although my memory is a little bit vague, but I'm sure you just didn't really have a clue as to what your chances really were of getting in the box. You just give up sooner or later. That is a very long time ago now. The game has certainly moved on a lot since then. It was a lot more manual back then as well, moving your probes around, moving the formation around. You had to kind of do it probe by probe, and the sites weren't even named like relic and data and whatever sites. They were just radar, gravimetric, and the other one sites. And there were also, I'm sure back then, salvaging sites you could hack down. Anyway, talking of hacking, you can see that I'm on a relic site right now and I'm going through these boxes. I'm not really dwelling on it because, as you can see, there was metal scraps in that box. This is probably the worst wormhole relic site I've ever come across, to be quite honest. Two boxes had less than, one box had about 1900 in it, one about 3200 in it. The biggest box was 270,000, I think. And the grand total for that whole site was about 450,000 ISK. So it's nearly 500,000 ISK. It's not to be sneezed at. It was kind of free, although it was taking my time. But yeah, that's probably the worst site ever. And that's all that was there that day. I thought I'd hang out in this wormhole for one more day and then find somewhere to move on to. So, same routine, scanning, keeping an eye on the D-scan, nobody else around. I've now updated, tidied up the bookmarks a little bit. I've done my scanning. I've got one lovely relic site to go to. It's a Garistas Science Outpost, which is one of my favourite relic sites visually, as you'll see when we get up there. So let's see what we can get today. We've had a little famine. Can we have a little feast, please, wormhole? Loot Fairy, you need to start being a little bit nicer to me. Anyway, so we'll get through this one. I actually blew up the first box on this site. It was 125 grand's worth. And the biggest box we got on that site was 11.5 million. The total off of that site was about 26 million. So that's not bad. It's not fantastic. But this isn't all about the loot. It's partly, well, a big part for me is about the journey. And I think if you start playing EVE and you only focus on the ISK you're making per hour, especially in any given hour, then that's kind of, I think, when you're going to head down the road towards burnout, you have to accept that you might spend a few hours on the belts before you get a decent loot drop, or you find a Mordu or a Shadow Serpentis or even a Clone Soldier some days. The same as you might not get a decent loot drop off of one of your, your 3 out of 10, your 4 out of 10, your 5 out of 10s, whatever. It can happen. I do have little blue periods where the loot looks rubbish. But anyway, we're moving on wormhole now. The only alternative to the high-sec static today is a C4. So we're going to go into the C4. A couple more days had elapsed there. And the day that I hacked for the 26 million, the only wormhole that was there when I was there was the high-sec static. So I would have moved on. But I would guess the The alternative wormholes have collapsed and we're yet to respawn. So there's nothing in here we're really going to be able to get into, but I am going to scan down this system since we're here, just to see what's going on. And you'll notice that this system, like the last one, has no effects in effect, quite literally. There's no icon above my ship display down at the bottom of the screen, which means there are no system effects in effect. So we've saved the wormhole we came through. I always call the wormhole that I came through home. I know it isn't really leading back to home, but I know what I mean. It's a reference point. So there you go. We scanned down everything. There are no pirate faction relic or data sites are going to spawn in a C4 or a C5 or a C6. I knew that. As you can see there, you get the sleeper data sites and relic sites. They'll spawn. But they're not really to be considered hacking sites. They're combat sites primarily, and the loot is what you're going to get from the dead sleepers with a little bit of hack loot bonus at the end. That's my experience anyway. We found 3 C1 to 3 wormholes, so we'll go and have a look through the first one and see what we find. And to be honest, this is the only bit of this process where I feel quite nervous, because you obviously have no idea. There's no way of knowing what is beyond this wormhole. It could be a bubble, could be a cloaked ship ready to get me, but so far I've had very little company. We've had murder going on elsewhere in the wormhole. I think in the very first video on this, didn't I fly past a guy camping a gate, but I was going the other way, so that was okay. But again, we're through, we're safe and sound. There's not a lot to scan in here, so I'm simply going to burn back to this wormhole, go back into the C4 and go out through the other wormhole that went to a C1 to 3. See if we find some more signatures to scan down in that one, because I want to get some loot. I don't want to spend time going through empty holes waiting for stuff to respawn. So you see the timer on the wormhole there. That's the polarization timer. Because I've been through the wormhole and back out, I can't then go back in. That timer lasts for 5 minutes, and I remember for years that timer wasn't. You couldn't see that in the game in any way. You used to have to keep an eye on your watch or an egg timer. And when you're trying to collapse a wormhole, that is an issue, obviously, your polarization time. Bit like the loot all button. That wasn't in this game for years. You had to loot everything piece by piece once upon a time. Anyway, here we are in this wormhole. There's not a whole lot more, to be honest. There's nothing on the D-scan that looks scary. We've got the black hole wormhole effects as we had back in that shattered wormhole. I think we'll head back into the C4 and take the third route out, the third wormhole. Maybe the third one's a charm. We could of course stay in here and hack our way through, scan our way through to another wormhole. But I think we'll give this a go as it's already there. Third time lucky, here we go. Let's see what we get. This could be doom, it could be gloom. It could be the route to fame and fortune, who knows. And let's not forget our little Heron. If you take off the cost of the probes, we're currently carrying about 320 times the value of our shipping cargo. So we are doing alright. But as I say, you just have to accept that you're going to have little patches where the loot just is not coming your way. Just stay safe, stay focused, move along and see where you end up. And here we are, we're in another C3. Let's get ourselves a safe spot sorted out as soon as possible. Get off the wormhole, get into warp, drop our bookmark, and the job's a good un. I didn't actually bookmark the wormhole that I came in through there, but to be honest, it's not the wormhole home, so it doesn't really matter. I'm probably going to end up wasting a couple of minutes scanning it back down when I'm scanning, but that's okay. Right. We found nothing of interest in the wormhole that day. We are in a pulsar wormhole. That's given us 50% extra shield hit points. We got a 20% reduction in capacitor recharge time, so our cap gets recharged quicker. That's good. 50% bonus to energy, Nosferatu and neutralizer drain amount, so we'll watch out for that. Hey, 20% penalty to armor resistances, not really that relevant to us, and a 50% increase in ship signature radius, which means we'll be locked quicker. So we need to be a little bit wary in this wormhole. We've got some more hit points, but we're going to get locked up quicker. So we'll get the good old probes out, we'll get to scanning, and we'll see what we can find today. Bit of a selection to have a look at. Maybe there's something nice and juicy in there for us. Well, unfortunately, there isn't. We found 4 wormholes, 3 sleeper sites, and a gas site. So we're just gonna log out for now, because I've got to do some stuff as it was in real time right here. No more loot for us. We've saved our bookmarks. This is now another day afterwards. So the spread of this video so far is 4 days. Popping in and out, obviously. Probably about 2 hours, 2.5 hours worth of gameplay all told so far. Right, it's just under a couple of days later. As you can see, the bookmarks I saved in the last session are still active. They might not be valid, but they haven't expired yet. I saved them all for 2 days, just in case. Some of the sleeper sites, ore sites, gas sites will linger for days if nobody's running them. So it just saves you rescanning them, even 2 or 3 or 4 days later. So I'll get the bookmarks tidied up. I'll get to scanning. Nothing on my D-scan. At one stage while I'm in this wormhole, a Heron pops up very briefly on my D-scan. I don't know if he's been doing anything or whether he's just passing through. But he doesn't linger. He could get cloaked up, but I don't see probes. I don't see any activity on a site. So no real interest to me, but I did see somebody else. Anyway, so I'm going to tidy up the bookmarks, delete the ones that are no longer valid, and start making some new ones. And today we've got 5 wormholes. We've got a gas site and the 2 sleeper sites that were left over from the last time we were in here scanning. So I guess it's time to move on again. I'm not going to linger in here. Let's get moving onwards and upwards. Just finish dropping my bookmarks, and then we'll decide at random which wormhole to go through once I've seen where they all go. So we've ended up with 1 wormhole to high sec, 1 wormhole to null sec, 2 wormholes into C4 and above wormholes. I'm pretty sure they're C4s. Dangerous unknown parts of space. And 1 wormhole into a C1 to 3 category. So let's go that way, shall we? Let's see what we'll find through this door. We're up to just about 340-ish million. The price keeps fluctuating for no apparent reason. I guess it's the market fluctuating, to be honest. That would be the apparent reason. Right, in we go. Next wormhole. Who knows what is beyond? Now, we've already got bookmarks in here. Have I? No, I haven't been on. I literally haven't been on for nearly 2 days. So it can't be that we've gone back through a wormhole we've actually used before as a direct route. Which, this is the wormhole we were in at the beginning of the episode. But that was like 5 days ago now in real life time. That is quite peculiar. There you go. Yeah, indeed we are. We've gone round in a weird kind of wormhole circle. Now, I've spent a fair bit of time in wormholes, and I don't think I've ever got back to the same wormhole quite so quickly as that. As you can see, my bookmarks haven't even expired yet. So, yeah, well, they're not going to be valid, but it's going to save me a little bit of hacking. I have got a little bit of company in here, though. There is an occutor on my D-scan. So I think I'm just going to log out for now. The reason I don't like lingering, he's obviously a local if he's out in a hauler, so he can get a mate, he can get an all cloaked up, he's already got the sites bookmarked. The longer I hang around, the more chance they've got to take an interest in me. So if I did pop up on that guy's D-scan, because I'm sure he's paying attention, because he's a wormhole dweller, so it should be habitual, it's just going to look like I was just passing through the system and he can forget all about me. Hopefully I'll be back after they've logged out to get some loot. I'm intrigued as to why Eve Fate has brought me back to the same wormhole like that. So we're going to linger just for a little while and see what's going on. Anyway, guys, for now we shall leave it there. Leave us a like if you've liked it. Any comments, feedback, always welcome. Have you ever found yourself back in the same wormhole quite so quickly? Let me know in a comment down below. Subscribe if you want to stay in touch. But more importantly, take care of yourselves, fly brave, and goodbye.